We covered our Valentine's Day events. We covered our treasury review. Let's just get to the most important thing of the month, and that is what's right here in the holodeck. They have adapted part 2. This is how you will get your Talios blueprints as long as you have reached level 35 and have a tier 9 Vidar. Those missions will appear for you. The first one was available last week. That got you 50 of the blueprints. Now, today we have the second part, which will get you the other 50, as well as the prime particles that you need. These are very quick, very easy missions to do. You basically go to like one system, talk to a guy, kill a guy, talk to a guy, and you're done, kind of thing. And then you can get to work on building your Vidar. While I'm flying out there for documentation purposes, I can do an epic box. Let's open this. 92,000. What can we get in here? We can get some Galinar. We can get some Hue shards. That would be nice. Let's open a box. I got 3 Galinar shards. I got 5 of 11 shards. I will take that. Thank you very much. No Hue shards, though. That's a little disappointing. Okay. So, things that are currently based in your refinery off of your tier 9 Vidar, when you build your Talios, these will reset, and these will now trigger off of your Talios tier. So, this nanoprobe conversion will flip over. So currently it's 100,000 for 15,000 charged, or a double pull at 500,000 gets you 30k, or you can do a triple pull of 1 million nanoprobes, and that'll give you 45,000 of these charged. If we look at this conversions, these are 3 boxes a piece, getting 4,800. Here's your Solo Armada directives, available at 28,800. Independent credits for 8,000, I get 240 because I have the Refinery Prime. This thing should stay the same. This doesn't change. There are no new can't think of assimilated Ferengi miners in the new systems, at least not yet. Your expansion cube here, 72,000. This is based on not having a Talios. That's what this looks like. And then your faction credits, again, these are double outputs. This is 8,000, giving me 600 because I have the double output from the Prime. And then the reputation bundles are 5750, and that's going to get you 108,000 of a particular point. All right. I'm not going to bore you with the mission and what's involved with that. Since you were just at the Ops 46 to 48, what do you think about some of the must-do things before you level up? You're at Ops 46. So 46, obviously get your rare ship built. You want to get that tiered up a little bit. After that, it's really just more of it's a process, because there are a number of things that you have to upgrade around your station that even if you've been keeping pace with it, it's still going to slow you down. Trying to do your dry docks and your defense platforms, then trying to do your vaults and your warehouses again. So those things are going to kind of slow you down a little bit. Moving from like 46 to 47, and then from 47 to 48. It's just sort of a process, and while you're working on that process, you definitely want to make sure you're upgrading your ship. Trying to get to at least tier 4, if not tier 5. (48 to 49) is a super quick level. 49 is one of those upgrade everything kind of levels. as far as research, there are some new efficiencies that you can get in between there. You can also get an additional dry dock and defense platform. I think it's at 47 you get the dry dock, and 48 you get the defense platform. I'd have to go back and check my notes on that one, but yeah, there's no like you need this kind of thing. It's obviously you want to just get the rare ship upgraded and keep moving along, but is it better to slowly work on it, or should you rush things? I mean, the answer to that question always comes down to, what your spending habits are. I mean, if you're rushing things with the buildings, well, then you might end up with only like then you're sacrificing those resources that you would also be spending on your ship, unless you're purchasing packs and then you can afford to do both. I would prioritize the ship over the building upgrades, but that's just me. At least to some extent. Like I said, try and get this thing up to at least like tier 4, if not tier 5. And that's when tier 4, tier 5 is where you're going to start to slowly slow down anyway. Not so much for the resources, but because of the ship parts. It's going to take so many uncommon ship parts to keep moving each component that it's going to naturally slow you down on your upgrades there. So instead of needing to spend the resources on the ship, which you don't have the ship parts, you're waiting on those, you can spend the resources on the building instead to keep making growth elsewhere. And then as you get closer to the amount, because you get resources so much faster between the refinery, the events, the battle pass, the treasury, that kind of stuff. So once you finally have or get close to the amount of ship parts that you need to be able to do a component or a tier up or something like that, then start saving, the gas or the crystal or whatever you're going to need to do that component. Ship parts are the worst. Yeah, ship parts are probably the biggest holdup for sure. So that's all you needed to do to complete that mission chain. Like I said, very quick and easy. And done, which means we now have 100 blueprints, which means we can now go interceptors, bam, Vidar Talios. This is a 4-star epic ship. Takes 8 days for me to build it. We'll hit that button. We'll wait about 30 seconds to get a few helps. Scrapping ships helps a lot. Definitely, if you can scrap, 26 faction ships have the best return on investment. They're a little harder to source because you actually have to spend faction credits to acquire the blueprints. The 28s aren't that bad, cost-wise. I apologize, I'm really feeling very stuffy in my throat today. The 28s you can farm the blueprints for. So those at least get to be a little easier. These you have to buy either with away team credits or with faction credits. They're not overly expensive to get the whole ship. It's a few thousand, but maybe that'll be easier now with the new Borg Refinery paying out higher amounts of faction credits. You can get these quicker and easier. But the 28s right here, I mean, you can, when you're doing dailies and stuff like that, they're going to drop blueprints for them. So, I could build almost 3 Centurions right now if I needed Explorer parts. I could build a couple of these, level them up, scrap them. They take about a week to scrap, so you certainly have time in between to be working on the next one. So then you can kind of just keep, an assembly line going. Build them, scrap them, build them, scrap them. Brain Soup agrees. Scrap the Sallies and Bortos. 26 are better for mats. The 28s are better for ship parts. And since ship parts are more what you need, you kind of get a better return there for sure. Jane says, I will grind slowly and pause before the shipbuilding ops level, like I held at 41 until you had all your Valdora blueprints, then moved to 42. That works. Again, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. If you know, you're one of the people who wants to be ready, and you're like, I'll have the ship blueprints by the time I get there, or I'll get there and then I'll put in the extra work to farm the scouts or do whatever I have to do to get those last bits of blueprints. Other people, take the opposite approach, which is I want to have all the blueprints before I get there. And other people are more comfortable with I want to get there first and then I'll worry about getting the blueprints to finish the ship. Uh, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I think is the expression. Either way, you end up in the same spot. Just depends on whether you went around the block to the left or the right. All right. Let's look at our Talios. Down to 8 days. That's good enough. Tangent Nexus, thank you very much for the follow. And here she comes, coming out of dock. She's a feisty looking ship, I'll give her that. Okay, now that we have built the Talios, our Borg refineries have reset. First up, based on your ops level, you will be able to go into here and claim different transwarp coils. This is, again, a level locked ship like the Franklin, like the Defiant. There is a component, or like the Meridian as well, that when you reach the certain ops level through your refinery is where you will get the next part. So when I tier up to the next level, if I can tier up any further, I'll come in here. There'll be another component that I can then grab to do it. My Talios nanoprobe refinery did reset. So I now have the option. It's only a 2 chest option. Before we had 100, 500, and a million. But they were paying out 15,000 apiece. So I was spending $1 million to do a triple pull, getting 45,000. Now I only have to spend 510K doing the double pull, and I'm getting 46,000. So effectively, I'm back to doing a double pull, spending 500,000 a day. I'm just getting slightly more nanoprobes for it than I was before this arc even started. And now I have enough to do both halves of it. So this was the downside to what we were all saying in month number 1, was that they added more content, forcing us to have to spend more nanoprobes to be able to engage in the new content plus the existing content. And now here in month number 2, they've brought us back to where we were, which is only having to do a 500,000 double pull to get enough to do all of the content that we want, assuming you're not trying to level up the ship. So for 46,000, I could get my nanoprobes for 28.8 here. I'd have 17,000 left over that I could then invest in my faction credits or my independent credits. They did add the third pull so people could catch up for sure. Also, in order for people to also continue progression as well. Because if you were only spending, again, if you only got 30,000 and that was the most you could get, your options were either get solo Armada directives or get your independent credits and your faction credits. By doing the triple pull, you could still do all of it. And now you're back down to only having to do a double pull, and you can still do all of it. Our nanoprobes before, it was 4,800. Now it's up to 7,200, so we're getting a better payout there if you need these to upgrade Borg officers. You do also have both options here now for claiming solo Armada directives. So before it was 28.8 for 100, which is, this is basic math, but we'll just show it. 288 charged probes per directive. Moving on to the new Talios refinery. This is now 238 per directive. So you're getting a better return on investment for your Borg Solo Armada directives here. And if you're so inclined and have the ability to, you can claim it from both chests to get more solo directives. This refinery did not change. You can see it's still here, Vidar Tier 9. Your independent credits, before I was spending 8,000, I was getting 240. Now I'm spending 9,000, I'm getting 335. So this is a little bit of an upgrade. Gonna help source those independent credits a little faster for promoting officers. My expansion cube. This pack changed. I can see that it changed tier 1 through 4, so I now have different payouts and stuff in here. I don't remember what these were offhand. I'd have to go back and look at a screenshot to see what they were. But this definitely did change. I meant to grab that, but I forgot. As far as your faction credits, again, I was getting 600 before for 8,000. Now I'm spending 9,000 and I'm getting 760. So I'm getting a little bit more. And again, because I have the Prime, that's what we're getting here. And this will improve as I tier up the ship. And then reputation-wise, it was 108,000. Now it's up to 160,000. Went from about 5,400 up to about 6,000 again. So slight improvement or slight increase on the cost with an improvement on the payout there as well. How long do we figure it takes the Talios to pay for itself? In what way? Pay for itself in what way, Olympus? Okay, so there's my new ship. Right out the gate, 1.26 damage per round. Based on my research and officers and stuff, we're talking about 2.6 million for an interceptor, 18.7 crit chance, warp range of 70. That's again getting a 25 boost from my officer, from my research abilities, I think. So, charged probe cost first extra payout. I mean, the ship itself is going to take a while to up. I don't know how to figure that out. So, because the ship itself is going to take a number of probes to upgrade and level up, and then you're going to have the refineries over there, which are also going to change and are going to increase as you tier the ship up. And since you can't max the ship out until you get to Ops 58, it's kind of a moving target. But speaking of moving targets, let's upgrade some stuff, because I've got 264,000 nanoprobes here, so that's going to get me some of these components. We'll do the impulse one. This is the one that requires the trans warp coil, is the impulse engine for some reason. I guess they didn't want to limit people on the warp range one and wanted to let people be able to do that so they can make sure they reach the new systems. We do have a phaser turret. We also have 2 rail guns, which I do want to make sure I upgrade those. And we'll get that turret done. So I've got 2 components left. I've got the cargo bay, and I've got the warp engines. That's going to be about 70,000, and I've got 24, and I get 46. So that means that I will be like 100 short tomorrow, probably, from being able to upgrade this to the next tier. Now, as far as the Talios versus the Vidar in terms of killing things, At Tier 1, your maxed Tier 9 Vidar is probably going to give you a slightly better ability in terms of killing stuff. It's just because it's a new ship, it takes a little while to level up. You can obviously see the cargo on it is a lot higher. Let's do them side by side. And let's just, for hoo-has, let's throw Uhura in here, because this is the crew that I would use. So we're talking about 2.3 million power versus 2.8 million power. But the hull health there, 758 compared to a million, is kind of where you're, level 1 versus level 45. You're also dealing with the difference of 7 officer slots versus 0 officer slots currently, because I haven't leveled the ship up. So you're not getting stat boosts. You're also not able to put as many officers below deck. So an officer like Uhura that triggers off that has less people to work from. So it's going to be a bit of a hindrance to your mitigation factor as well. If we just take this out just to see what it can do. What I should actually do is, for consistency's sake, let's go look at the same crew that I would normally use for these. And we'll see if I can find a battle log from earlier today or last night where I was killing probes. Traders, I don't know if I have one. There we go. 36 tactical probes. So with my Vidar, I was killing these things. The fight was going 6 rounds. We can see that Uhura is mitigating. It's probably max mitigation right there. 75841 over 106519, 71.2%. So I've got max mitigation because of all the officer values and things that I'm getting there. Fight's going 6 rounds. I'm hitting, decent damage, about 4 million a shot. And I was able to kill about 25 or 26 of these level 36 probes. I expect this ship will not be as successful. I just sent the wrong ship. Son of a... I had the wrong dock clicked. Well, that's not even worth doing anything because I'm just going to get blown up and die. And I don't feel like spending 100 million tritanium to repair it. On the plus side, no, I can now claim more transwarp cells because I'm now below 8. Also, I believe this has increased. Instead of only giving you 100, now that you have a Talios, you get 1,000. Yeah, I was too busy yapping, wasn't paying attention to the fact that I changed docks moving between ships within the ship maintenance screen. So therefore, when I exited it, it reverted back to the ship that I was on when I clicked it. If you're not sure what I mean, like if I click manage, if I have the discovery highlighted and I click manage and I make a change to the ship here, and then I use the arrow and I make a change to this ship dock and then I exit, the discovery is the ship that's highlighted still. Even though this is the ship I ended on, it doesn't change what's the active ship. So don't do that. Don't do that. Jane, you've got yours up to tier 3. You can bring home 1.3 million per hull. You need to spend cubes and level it up. Bel Air, your tier 1 tally got 331k while killing the 33 Borg probes. Yeah, that's about what mine got on my free-to-play account when I was doing this and leveling it up earlier. But so leveling up the ship is going to give you more hull health. So let's just see where we're at. Not too shabby in terms of killing stuff there. Didn't take a whole lot of damage. Let's go look and see where we're at here. So battle log speaking, the fight only went 3 rounds, so we cut it in half. I'm putting out 6.5 million damage. The firing pattern is also different, I feel like. I could probably look this up in stfc.space real quick, but I don't know if the new ship's up there yet. I haven't looked. So round 1, 1 shot. Round 2, 1 shot. Round 3 was 3 shots. The new ship, I believe, has an extra shot in round number 2. So round 1, 1 shot, both weapons charging. Round 2, you have 2 shots in round number 2. So now you're doing more damage earlier in the fight. And then round 3 has 2 shots. So you've got a little more consistent damage. Instead of 1, 1, 3 for a total of 5 shots, it's 1, 2, 2 for still getting a total of 5 shots. But you're hitting a little bigger, and obviously this is a big crit here for 28 million there. As far as mitigation, though, we can see that that's a little lower. Oh, still came in at 71%, so I'm still max mitigation, perhaps because my Uhura is high enough, or the other officers on the ship are, that I'm still getting max mitigation out of her. You went in at level 1 instead of level 5, so I sacrificed a lower deck officer. I did, because I wanted to see what this could do straight out of the box, and what it looked like without any modifications, any upgrades. Plus, I'm cheap, and I didn't want to spend the ship XP to level it up. No, I really just wanted to see what it could do. With the out-of-the-box 1 million cargo, this will be an OPC Hunter's Delight. Well, that's definitely true. At 1 million there, especially in Isogen, where people sometimes go OPC for 200, 300,000 Isogen pretty easily. You could swoop through a system, hit 2 or 3 miners, pick up 500,000 or 600,000, 700,000 Isogen, and be like, I'm done for the week. Right there. Per STFC, it goes 1 shot, 2 shot, 4 shots. Railguns fire. A goes off in round 2, B goes off during round 3. Yep. You think you mentioned it earlier, but your biggest whale took theirs to level 57 already. It's a beast of a ship. Yeah. I have seen people, in the high 50s. I think their ship is like 70, 80 million strength. When it's, hitting those high level tiers for those guys, 56 plus. And again, it is ops locked. I think I saved a copy of the chart. This was put together. I believe this was Jules Verne who put this together. So let's zoom in a little bit. So thanks to him for doing this. Thanks to Rev for making it available on his Discord. As you can see here, the Talios is ops locked, so based on whatever ops level you are on the left-hand side. So those guys who are in the mid-50s, they can get it to tier 10, 11 maybe. You got to be 58 to max the ship out all the way, but then you can see what you're getting in terms of, charged nanoprobes. You could be getting as much as 140,000 charged nanoprobes if you have the ship maxed. Jules Verne, Blue Mandalorian. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So, if you had the ship maxed, you're getting 140,000 charged. No, that's what it costs. No, that's what it refines at. This is what it costs. So you're spending 4 million nanoprobes. You're getting 140,000 charged, or double that if you have the prime. You're getting 240 or 280. And then in terms of what you can spend over here, you know, you could spend 35,000 and get 1,300 independent credits. That's only like 20 days would give you 25,000, which is what you need. So every like 3 weeks, you could max out an officer using independent credits, an epic officer, because they cost about 25,000 independent credits to go from tier 4 to tier 5. So if you were doing this, that'd be pretty good. And then in terms of your faction credits, you could get upwards of 2,000 a day just out of this refinery. And when you start talking about, you know, ships that need 500K to $1 million in terms of faction credits, this would also certainly cut down on that grinding time. So I think we're going to see that this particular in-store purchase item that doubles the payout. I mean, there is a charged nanoprobe pack that you can get now that you have a tier 1 Talios. Has 625,000 in it, as well as a bunch of G3 resources and no Latinum. Oh, if this had better resources, I might be interested in doing that. But it does not have very good resources in it, so I'm just buying the components for it. But this is the prime. The prime inert nanoprobes, I think, is the one. See, this one has some good stuff in the pack for it. And I think that's the one that right here in your research, in your starship tree, prime inert nanoprobes. Nope, this is the one that increases the drop rate while using the Talios, so that's not the one you want. You want this prime charged nanoprobe refining. This is the one that pays out double. So I looked at the wrong prime. His is 151 million. That is a pretty strong ship then. So that's not the one you want. Talios active nanoprobes. This is giving you more actives. This is just a one-time pack purchase. This is an upgrade the Vidar pack. So the upgrade the Vidar pack, if you had a tier 9 Vidar, for $100 gives you 220,000 charged nanoprobes. For having the Talios, for the same $100, you get 600,000 charged nanoprobes. So clearly, this is a catch-up pack, basically. If you're trying to catch up, get your Vidar and get it upgraded, you would have to do this to then get to the Talios, or just buy the Talios and just skip it and start over. But where is the charged nanoprobe prime? Ah, here it is. So this one gives you these components that you need, as well as a big chunk of Latinum and all of this other fun stuff. Now, the interesting thing to note is that this costs 6-star materials to complete, and currently those material spend events that we have do not have a reward structure for 6-star materials, a scoring mechanic. So if you were to buy this, you wouldn't necessarily have to wait until the weekend to activate it, I think is what I'm saying. So something else to keep in mind there as well. Super far to the right. Thank you very much. Don't forget you get a free Borg Armada Prime. Yes, that is the other thing that you do get. With your Talios blueprints in that mission, you also got this Vinculum Scrapper component right here. And this particular one increases the amount of vinculum fragments gained by the Talios when destroying expansion cubes. So the other day, part of my alliance, we went and we killed, people wanted to test it out. We only had 3 or 4 people who had Talios in, so the rest of us just took our biggest ship we could. I took my pylum, we kicked the crap out of the thing, and as a reward for that, I got, what did I get? 8,000 or so? 8,000 of these things. With this prime, you get a huge bonus to that. A 5,000% bonus, but you have to use the Talios to do it when destroying the cubes. You're probably going to want to use the Talios anyway because the other ships do not get the benefit of the damage boost the way that, your solo armadas do. You have the research, makes them all hit with the 35,000 bonus like the Vidar does. For the group armadas, those researches do not apply. So you kind of have to use the Talios to do this stuff. So let's go ahead and get that research done as well. I can get this one out of the way. And now, essentially, if I got 8,000 last time, 50 times as much of that, I'd get a lot more for doing that. This particular prime, the one I was looking at, this increases your drop rate. So you'll spend less time farming your drop rate. It'll take you less time to fill up your cargo. You're going to get 75% more killing these things. So instead of getting, 7 or 8,000 per kill, I might get 10 or 12,000. I get 8,000 on that one. You could also use someone like 5 of 11 as well as like a loot crew officer. Could potentially put him in like the 3rd slot with this group. Instead of just doing straight Strange New Worlds, I could put 5 of 11 here, still getting the mitigation, still getting the shield deflection. It kind of depends a little bit on also the tier of your pike and stuff like that too, and what you can do. But I do find that the max value I get is using a straight Strange New Worlds crew. When I put 5 of 11 in, even though I get more per kill, I find that I can kill less things, so I end up coming home with slightly less cargo, although I spend less time doing it. So in this case, if I was going to get 200,000 doing it this way, and it would take me 10 minutes, it might only take me 7 minutes the other way, and I'd get 175,000. So depending on how, something like that. You get the point. So. But I'm sorry you missed the notification, Barkman. Glad you were able to catch in for at least part of the show. All right. Overall, I think that's sort of the explanation for how the Talios works, how the refinery works. Now, the other thing, though, is where do the new cube or directives come from? Because these all drop the regulars. Where do you get the expansion cube directives? Are we only buying those? That can't be right. Are they in here? So you kill the spheres and you get like 5. That's what we're doing. That's really it. It really is just like the 5 you get from killing a solo. Apex Predator says after active nanoprobes. No, I think that's just the solo Armada ones. So after active nanoprobes here, these are the solo Armada ones. So these give you the ones to do the uncommon solos. You go kill those, you get your loot. Your loot chest here contains rares, and you move up and you kill rares. Rares give you for epics, you kill epics. So I guess it's part of your loot reward chest for killing these types of things that you're getting. Those Armada directives. Yeah, it's only from the solos, right? You're only supposed to be able to do 1 or 2 a month. Well, I mean, they are 500 apiece, right? So they are essentially considered epic armadas. So I guess that's a thing. Well, we're still getting XP, so I guess we're not quite leveled up yet. Yeah, we're halfway through level 3. Now, how many of these things have I killed? Because I said normally I get about 25 or 26 with the Vidar. Because my Uhura is as high as she is. OSU 2711, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome on in. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is right there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's number 20. 21, 22, 23. So I may actually come out a little ahead in terms of being able to kill things. Because I know when I was doing it on my free-to-play account, my mitigation, the second, with my tier 1 Talios was only like 67%, but my Uhura is only like tier 2 on that account. So the fact that my Uhura is higher on this account, I may still be getting, I'm still getting max mitigation over here. So that may be making enough of a difference that this ship is, because now it's doing more damage and the fight's ending in 3 rounds instead of 6 rounds. And obviously I might be critting and doing more damage and things like that, but I may end up actually killing more than I usually get, which is awesome. Do I have Kirk as commander? Yes, Kirk is my fleet commander. Nevin says you get 5 from the uncommons. You get more from the rares and epics. Okay. So yeah, I'll have to, I mean, I know I can run some solos, but I don't want to, now becomes the part of the time where I don't want to waste my solo Armada directives the way I normally would do them, because it's going to trigger the debuff that I might need for the cubes here. So I could do a bunch of uncommons, a rare, and an epic. But what, I do need to open this chest, though. I guess that's the question, too, now. Is there any benefit to taking the Talios to do a regular solo? It's getting the same ship ability, 35,000 against Borg hostiles like it normally would. There is no secondary ability on this ship like the Defiant does, where it gives more drops, so there's a Borg drop boost on him. Yeah. Let's look at his skill tree. There's a Borg drop boost, huh? Nanoprobe rewards from hostiles. See, I didn't even do that one. Well, there you go. And I got level 30 cooking, so I'd be able to use this one soon too. So let's switch that one on. I had it on swarms, increasing my shots against my swarms because I was doing my dailies. Increase rewards from Axion hostiles. Well, that'll make that even faster too. I didn't even do these. Well, there we go. Thank you for the reminder about that one. I forgot about all these extra abilities that are now unlocked. Yep. You get 34 from the rares, you get 90 from the epics. So killing the... Okay, so again, you know, you're kind of limited. You have to engage in the whole loop. You got to do the solo armadas to get the kills, not just to open the chests, to get the directives for the other solo armadas, but also now to source the directives for the new cubes as well. Get away from... There's like 3 right there below you. Why would you come after the one by me? With all this excitement around the Talios, you almost forgot about the Klingon Hunt event. That's true. I did not mention that event earlier. That's true. That is the other event going on right here. We have our Talios event, of course. Let's see where I'm placed now. Hey, based on that, I was, without, buying anything, I was able to move all the way up to 6th place with just the nanoprobes that I had. So this is still mostly done with tier 1. So we're kind of in this range, the 6 to 7 million. People who did make a purchase and were able to tier it up, obviously moved up here into the top. The rewards, we're getting some extra, extra Dabo pulls. I don't know that that's enough incentive just to do it, just to tier up the ship, is to get a couple extra Dabo pulls. Yeah, let's see if the ship is actually on stfc.space yet. It is. Excellent. So as you can see here, your ship ability does get a slight upgrade. You're not getting into big numbers though. I mean, you start at 35,000% damage increase. And you're not getting up to 40,000 until 29 or 30. So it's a very slow and steady progression here through the first handful of levels. And then even as you go up further and further, you're really not seeing any big jumps. By maxed, it's 45,000. So you start at 35,000, you go up 60 levels, and now you're up to 45,000. As compared to the Franklin A, which starts at 3,500, but as you can see, it very quickly jumps up and up and up and up, and that by the time you're getting your Franklin, up to, we'll say, 47, it's 100,000%. So the Franklin has a huge jump in terms of damage output as it gets higher and higher and higher. And when you get it all the way up to 60, it's a 500,000% damage increase against both hostiles and armadas. So this one certainly scales up a lot better than the Talios does. But I think the Talios itself is going to scale up more in the actual, like if you look at the Franklin, if we look at what its max DPR is, it's only 34,000. So it needs, at max, it needs that 500,000 damage output to offset it. Whereas the Talios here, the DPR on said ship is 600,000. So it's built in already. The stats on the ship are just higher, so it's more universally useful as opposed to the Franklin, which has a very low damage and needs the ship ability to give it a huge boost against the one thing it's good at killing, making it the one-trick pony type ship. Whereas the Talios has just generically high stats and then gets a little bit of an added bonus against killing the thing it's intended to kill, making it less of a one-trick pony ship and more useful for doing other things with it, like hunting OPC miners. So a little bit of a difference there. Apex, your one upgrade on the Talios to tier 4. You're going to do it tomorrow and grab a little again for the use nano event. Tier 3 is like almost 100k in nano per upgrade. Tier 4 is 200,000. Yeah, it does go up pretty significantly, actually, if we pull that back up. You can look at what your upgrade costs are of your Talios. So tier 1 to tier 2 is 313,000. So if you're just getting your ship, or you're beginning it because you didn't do your missions yet or whatever, or haven't reached the requirements from it, 313,000 is what you'd want to have saved, so you could go from tier 1 to tier 2. Moving from 2 to 3 cost you 470,000. So the particular pack that they sell that gives you 660,000 nanoprobes in it isn't quite going to get you from 1 to 3 if you had 0 to start with, although you can get another 135k from your refinery, and that should get you right there or really close to it, because essentially you'd hit your refinery, buy the pack, tier your ship up. That's going to reset your refinery. You hit it again, should have just enough to tier the ship up again, and then possibly hit your refinery again, or hit your refinery and build the ship, and then hit your refinery. Yeah, you can do it 3 times. And then going from 3 to 4, now you're looking at about 700k. That would be a second pack purchase to get it to here just for this tier. Still only using common resources and materials up to this point though, which is awesome. And at this tier, you know, you're looking at some pretty decent stats and damage and hull health and whatnot. And again, still using commons, going from 4 to 5. We're looking at just over 1 million in nanoprobes now, so this is going to take a little while to get there. And now that we go from 5 to 6, which is when you should be in the 40s, per the chart we were looking at earlier, into your mid-40s, now it's starting to require uncommon crystal to level up. How far could I take my... Based on my ops level, I could take it all the way to tier 8, because I'm ops 48 now. So I could go all the way to tier 8. And so to go from, we'll say 2 to 8, because I'm basically done with tier 1. It would cost me 8 million nanoprobes. That's a lot. That's a lot of nanoprobes. Oh, and it also takes, it takes ship parts too. When does it start taking those? So at tier 6, we're still using common ship parts. When we go to tier 7, it starts to use uncommon ship parts. So here's where you're sacrificing progress on your Pilum to continue upgrading your Talios. That's a bummer. That is a bit of a bummer. Hey, what's up, Nuts? Welcome on in. Next Talios SMS. Yeah, there's one today because the mission is out today. So for those people who, did the first half of the mission last week, you can do the second half of the mission, and then you can build your Talios and get that rolling. So my Talios is hanging on here. We're going to get a little over 415,000. And this was again with it coming in level 1. I didn't even level it up. And now it's dead. It's going to take about 4 hours to repair. Going to cost me about 500,000 titanium. So relatively cheap to repair as well. But you do have your Talios event, which is an SMS for everybody getting the ship. If you have enough nanoprobes saved, you can at least get a couple components done and see where you can get to pick up some extra event store currency.